you like it or not, like at the cost of you, yeah, I'm gonna find myself a come up where at the cost of you as an individual, whether it's you as an individual. So y'all gotta realize what you offering is worth way more to them than you yourself as an individual. And that's what it really was that got to Joe. He was like, the point was Spotify was, they were trying to take the fruit without contributing to the soil, without contributing to what makes, the fact is what makes his podcast great, what what it does for the culture, what it represents for the culture. Spotify doesn't care about that. Spotify just wants the bag. They want to understand, how is it he has all these followers, how he has all these people to tune in and listen to him for 2 hours straight. That's what it is they want to figure out. That's all they care about. They don't care about what it is that Joe's trying to do. You need to care about what Joe's trying to do as a creator, because
Yeah.
Spotify doesn't, right? We need
Facts.
to just create our own brands, our own platforms, our own everything. Because why continuously go to the same people that obviously is not going to care about it the same way we do? That's not going to offer us monetary value that we see fit. Like, we could just take this shit and just do it ourselves, because one, attention will translate into revenue. We could then just, whether it is going to be a struggle, I say, to do in the beginning, but we could just do this shit ourselves.
You know what it's gonna take?
Just do it ourselves,
It's
bro.
gonna take a lot of patience, and a patience that this generation just doesn't have.
I say patience we never really learned to have
This
as a
generation
people.
didn't learn to have. Our ancestors did. This is how, you know, civil rights and stuff happened. Because these people saw it as, hey, you know what? We want our rights and to be respected as like equals, but we need our children and our children's children to have that same respect that we're fighting for. So the fight has to be like selfless. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we need to all focus our efforts into building up one and then building others and to look at it like, hey, we're not in competition, we're in cooperation. You know what I mean? Like, just like I was saying, like off air about the Twitch shit, where it's just like, yo, we need to work together, build one, and you open that door for everybody else to get through. And it has to be without ego. You know what I mean? It has to be completely selfless and knowing that this fight is going to go on for years before we start to build that kind of stuff. You know, instead of like fucking clowning people that are doing things like, oh, people clown Diddy because Revolt isn't as big as the other major networks. But
Yeah.
with the support and stuff like that, we can help it get there. People clowned Hove because Title wasn't as big as the other one. With support, it can get there. You
With
know, Ice
support to
Cube's
get
Big
there.
Three,
Yeah.
same thing. You know what I mean? Like, we're so quick to judge and to like, you know, clown people for their efforts rather than really supporting them and seeing that change. It's with that mentality we're never get anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, in it, and the, you know, the negative stuff is a bigger platform than the positive. Like, imagine like back then if the negativity was more prevalent than the positivity. Like, niggas would still probably be slaves. Niggas would still have no rights. Like, there'd still be a colored
No.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Cause there was niggas that absolutely were like, yo, like shit ain't never gonna change. Fuck that. Like, you look stupid protesting and stuff like
So
that.
yeah, which is
But
still
then
what
look
we
what
have
happened.
today.
Like, we need to learn from our ancestors and see, like, hey, you know what? They fought for the ability, you know, to um for us to even have these things, and we need to fight like that for the future generations. Like,
Together.
and that's
Keyword. together.
And that's Joe's point.
I
I
think the
think
big thing is it definitely has to be together.
like Joe has been like a pioneer for a lot of stuff. Like he was doing the live streaming thing before a lot of people were doing it. He was doing the podcasting before a lot of people were doing it. And his fight is for the future of this industry, the future of black creatives. It's like people are going to clown him. They're going to say whatever they want because they see it as just him. But like as someone that's in it and fighting to do this, I see the bigger play and I support it. Like, I got Spotify because of Joe. I support what Joe is doing. If Joe decides, hey, I'm getting up and I'm going to Title, I'll go to Title. Fuck it.
Yeah, same. I
Because I
thought about
support
that.
so much of what he does. I don't
What
listen to
does
other
Spotify really
podcasts.
offer? Yeah, just even not even that, but like, is even looking like because the way Spotify is operating, the way they were treating him, because he like how Joe, just to bring it back to the whole issue for those uh, who are interested in the story, like Joe, like Joe brought a lot of people to Spotify to their platform, and he was giving this a little bit of the details of where Spotify was at that time. And if you recall too, yeah, I wasn't even paying for Spotify then when he was like back in like 2 years ago. I wasn't paying for Spotify premium. Like there was because Spotify didn't have much to offer. It was just streaming. It was just streaming off their app. What their app did do though was it did nip the bud on pirating music. That's where it initially what they were strong for. But back then, that's they weren't really like compared to like Apple iTunes or like Apple Music. Um, just like what do we have? We had like Pandora, iHeartRadio, like other streaming platforms. Spotify was like whatever. And like now, just to see the way like how much they're worth, how much like their value has gone up. Joe Rogan, when Joe Rogan did the announcement that he signed, their stocks shot through the roof. Like their stocks were just shooting up off of shit like that. So Joe made a good point where he's like looking at Spotify now and how they grew, but how they responded to their growth. Like they became this like other like vampiric companies, like other labels and other companies, streaming companies in the business. Like they just came to suck the life out of the community, out of the creative pool. That's all they're really here for to do. They're not here to expand or help you grow or help the culture grow as black creatives or just as creatives in general. They ain't here for that. They're here to make a buck. And they're gonna suck you dry, Paul. They're gonna suck you dry to make that buck. That's what Joe was saying. And
Yeah, and
things need to come out of that together because between you want to get into the what because what followed after between Joe and Charlemagne over the Breakfast Club remarks, and he's like, "Yo, don't make a white person nine figures when they will only offer you jewelry, bruh."
yeah, and that's why I'm just like we have to figure out our own. Like, again, you have to play a bit of the game to get a start, but then at some point you can step out of the game and do your own. Like even with us, like we want to be able to sell IPs, but ultimately we're trying to build a network. So like we may sell an IP or two to some other people and figure that kind of stuff out, but at the end of the day, we're not trying to be solely dependent on them. Like we're trying to be our own network where we create these things and then we license this stuff to other people. But when we sell, you know, our intellectual properties and stuff like that, you know, and don't have the leverage, they dictate how much they're going to pay us. And even like with the Master P thing, I don't know if you've been watching like the No Limit Chronicles. It's been on BET. I've been seeing it online. He was like, yo, I got offered, I think like $1 million from this label and I turned it down. and he was like, "Yo, like, I think it was like his cousin or something was like, damn, man, we should have took that deal, blah blah blah." And Master P was like, "If they offered me $1 million, imagine how much I'm really worth."
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
If
Bro,
he'd have took that $1 million, bro, it would not be the same Master P.
fraction, bro. He was a fraction. It was worth because real rap, they only offered like a lot of companies, they will only offer you a fraction of what
They'll
you're actually
lowball you.
worth. I mean, that's just the way to go. Like that's just how the business is. They're gonna
Yeah,
lowball you.
and
That's just
sometimes
bargaining. Period.
you have to take that, to like to Joe's point. It's like he's like he knew he was getting less than he was offered other places, but the promise of getting the data that he needed was the far more important thing to him.
Very far, because he had to know what he was actually worth. He had to be like, if we're the number one podcast on your streaming platform, what does that mean metrics wise? How far is number two from us? Like because I think too far. What happens nowadays too many times, you know, people have these golden ideas or come up with these IPs only to just freely just give them away, give them away to other companies, to other publishers, to other distributors, because it's just like the DSP shouldn't be calling all the shots. They're just the place where the platform exists, like where it lives, where people can find it. That's all they really serve in the whole um the process of it all. Because it man, actually, yeah. Now, let me take it back to what I said with Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club, because I did say this and I didn't really go into this in detail. Because going back into that, the fact the fact that we have people internally fighting each other, like you said, if things were more negative than positive back then, we would still be slaves. But look at now, like Charlemagne came at Joe, um, on the Breakfast Club, earlier this week about Joe leaving Spotify, and like even it's and then there's other stuff with Tahir, with those allegations and
Oh,
stuff
Tahiri.
happening. Yeah, Tahiri. I'm not gonna get into that, but it's just Joe's comeback at Charlemagne. He was just like, "Yo, what I'm trying to do is like we're really going about the same thing, but we're going about it way differently." And I think that's fine. But like, what's important is not recognizing what someone else is doing and not trying to bash them for it. Like, yeah, like it's just like why are we always got to be in competition with one another? It's just like, and also just with the disrespect or the clowning, like, so what if Hove has title, no one's on title? Do you have your own streaming platform? What's the other black owned streaming platform?
I'm like, yeah. That's why I don't listen to when niggas say stuff like that. I'm like, yo, niggas will have something to say, but not even
Grabbing the bucket.
won't have $1,000 to their name. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And then you clowning the man that's putting his money into something. You know what I mean? Like,
And you are putting money into a brand that only sees you as a bank account that they could try to just drain until you got nothing left. And then
yeah,
when you
like,
got nothing left, they don't give a shit about you.
yo, niggas will clown you for trying to do music. For like, niggas have said their things about us doing this podcasting stuff, but I'm like, bro, like, you are
Oh
not
yeah.
making enough money for a living, and you are going to work at these companies for the rest of your life. And when you eventually retire at 70, if you can, like, what are you gonna have to show for it?
Nothing. Nothing. Where you gonna
Fucking
give to your
nothing.
kids? Where you got to give to your kids? Where you got to give to your fam? Where you got to pass down to give the culture to people who fucks with you, look like you, period, or people that like who have who walk the same path and vision as you. You're gonna have nothing for those individuals besides your saltiness. And I'm like, and I'm like, I don't like I could go in and rash those individuals, but what does that do? What does that do for them? What does that do for me? That does nothing for us. That does nothing for what we're trying to do. And that's what it ties into Joe, because he went in on Charlemagne, and I was like, God damn, you went in that nigga's life.
Nah,
Real rap about him
but
iHeartRadio, that nigga not owning anything. He's like, what do you own? Like, you're
no,
an employee.
and niggas niggas clown Dame Dash for years when he went on the
Years.
Breakfast Club and told niggas straight up. But Dame Dash owns all his shit. He has a streaming service. He has his own like studios. He has a label. He has all this other stuff like that. He has his own like, movie company or whatever.
That's for him, by him.
And niggas clowned him up and down when he went on there. It's like, yo, y'all don't own any of this shit. You can't give this to your children.
You can't, and y'all can't act. And
The best these niggas
really
can do is like,
in,
hey, this is my son. He wants to get into this, but none of these niggas have control to be like,
and they'll
hey,
be like, "That's cute," and they're like, "Hey, there, little guy. Like, you ready to work for me for however, like, you ready to make a living
the
based on
people who
however I
own
say you're
iHeart
worth?"
will put their children in place to run iHeart.
Yeah. And Charlemagne's, if
The people who
no
host
shade, but
the Breakfast Club have no say in who takes over the Breakfast Club when they leave.
yeah,
If Charlemagne doesn't sign again, he can't be like, all right, well, I don't want to sign again, but yo, you guys should definitely take on Jesus and Meryl. They're like, fuck you. We're putting who we want in there.
put who we want in there, and then whether it lives or dies, or Breakfast Club lives or dies, that's not for you to say. And then you're gonna feel a type of way. You're like, yo, I put years of my life into this, and you're not gonna treat it the way treated this way. And then it's just like, yeah, you don't
you're in
own
Radio
it.
Hall of Fame, but it's just like it's the Ryan Leslie thing. Like Ryan Leslie
Oh, the
is
plaque on
completely
the
independent.
wall. Damn, yo, the joke is. Oh, not my bad. I think it goes. I was being when you mentioned him being in the Hall of Fame. It's the
Yeah.
plaque on the wall. It's just like who the fuck who gives a fuck about a plaque on a wall? Like the billboards, top 100. Who cares about these lists and plaques, and like those don't mean shit. The value in those was created by the people that cut your checks. There's really no value in those things. Like we're chasing lists.
Yeah, we're letting
And
other people dictate our value.
yeah,
And look at the Ryan Leslie thing, right? Ryan
yeah.
Leslie, as of
Back to
recent,
that.
is getting more attention because he's been doing the independent thing on his own for years. But I remember like 10 years ago, he was talking about this and he was doing it. And now, because the
Crazy.
independent fight is so, like, this nigga's literally the Kaepernick of music.
The Kaepernick of music. That's crazy.
I shit you not. You can
That's the
look back
hardest battle to fight.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago and see that he's been doing this that long.
I'm happy for Joe for leading the way for podcasting because he came from music. Because he's seen what happened in music. He said himself, he's like, I seen what happened in music. That's why I want to move. It's the fact is, if you're trying to like changing music right now is gonna take like 10 Joes.
No, but like to the point of like Ryan.
The fact
Leslie,
is, this
right?
nigga is just doing it like for putting that message on himself.
So
I gotta applaud him. I gotta applaud him. No, real rap. He deserves some applause.
and with the Ryan Leslie thing, before we end the show and stuff like that, because we went on this shit way longer than I thought.
Oh yeah, sure. Welcome to the podcast.
But it was necessary.
Very necessary.
Ryan Leslie for years, if not a decade, was doing this shit independent. He found a way. He found his way to get everything going. Niggas are stealing his shit, but he is making mad money. He may not chart on Billboard like, some of our larger acts, but he's making more than many of these acts independent, quietly. And it's like,
Bro.
What do you want? Like, we're conditioned to go through this system to take a certain amount to be in these shitty deals. Meanwhile, Ryan Leslie is doing it all on his own, making more. He may sell 10,000 copies, but he's making more than the person that's selling millions because all those hands that are in their money. And niggas are scared to go independent.
And they should just go independent.
Russ talks about the same thing.
Ooh, Russ. I watched the clip about Russ. He went through a year basically of where his earnings on per month from like I think this was like SoundCloud of when he was like independent.
No, TuneCore.
Was it TuneCore? Oh, yeah. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's making bread.
He's making bread. He
Now,
went
granted,
from
Russ had a
making
little bit more privilege than some of us do, but
yeah.
the point is though, it's like his point is not moot because of it. You know what I'm saying? He may have a bit of advantage over the normal artist, but his point still stands. Like niggas can do this independent, they just don't want to, bro.
They just don't want to. Chance was trying to be the first, like he was trying to be the poster boy for it. Spotify fucked them up too.
Yeah.
I was watching some shit on that. It was like hello, it was like a YouTuber.
Hello,
Uh,
Yassine.
yep, hello I seen.
Well, shout
Yeah.
out
So
to him, man.
yeah, no, real rap. He has some dope ass videos and content. But just to keep it the ball rolling since we are trying to wrap up. Um, he had a video about how Spotify fucked it up for Chance too, and it relates to this message because Chance was trying to push the independent the music artist type of lifestyles, like yo, just make a team and like just run with your team, just take your time, build your team, and then build your brand, and then shit, like yeah, you might be in the red, but like you will be you don't have to depend on these labels. Like you won't have to depend on Spotify to get your music out to your fans. And you don't have to deal with Spotify, Apple Music, any of these other streaming platforms cannibalizing your fans with ads and like freaking ad placements and whatever that they can do because of the platform that they're forced to go through to get to you as the artist. And shit, like, bro, someone's got to give. Like, it's tough. Like, it's hard. You can't have one or two people put out this try to be an example of the lifestyle, and especially to go through roadblocks and say even if they don't succeed along the way and fail, we still can't have one or two. Like, we need more of these niggas, bro. We need more Joes. We need more chances. You see what I did there? More chances. If you like what you hear, you know who we are, Floor Seats Media.
No, but
I got puns all day.
I think that's a good